What's up, my babies? Steven, of course, again, I love you. What's up, Queens? What's up, girl? Pretty much I've been on a spiritual journey and I've been trying to figure out who I am, what am I trying to do? And everything leads back to me is family. Everything that leads back to me is community, is love for ancestors, is love for the world. So, for myself, kind of really seeing the different forms of archetypes in the United States that does actually tear down family units and actually does divide the families through that of metaphysical arts. And especially towards the people that don't, they obviously aren't going to school for these things and they're not doing any forms of tribal traditions like peyote, ayahuasca, or any forms of these ceremonial type of things that stimulates that of the mind's eye, or as far as religion. Religion's going to be another one that actually does teach you your human anatomy and the full nirvana of the mind. So the nirvana, every form of religion and everything that I've kind of really seen, it all resides back up here in the state of nirvana, the state of God. They call it Godhead. So I think the reasons why they call it Godhead, excuse me, I think the reasons why they call it Godhead is because you become essentially a creator of reality. So typically, what other forms of groups do is they try to take over the vessels. And in America, it's kind of what they do is they divide the families. And through that of tellerizations of the mind and different ways of having you agree in some way or shape or form of the enslavement of people, then you're relinquishing your own rights to essentially yourself, as well as your loved ones. So that this way, a different form of collective is able to guide you, mold you, and essentially have rights over you. So it's the keys is really to be able to get back your power and get back your full sovereigns. So typically, how you know that? Okay, so how you know that you're a free American versus an enslaved American. It's a free a free American is going to be very easily sexually expressive. They're going to be more upbeat. They're going to be more energetic. They're not going to really have no holes. They're going to have very strong boundaries. They're going to be willing to talk metaphysical arts, telekinesis, different forms of religions or cultures, and different forms of spirituality. Very open without any forms of hesitation. Um, and then an enslaved individual, typically they're a little bit slower. Typically they kind of veer away from spirituality. Some actually do veer away from that of religion too. It's gonna be a mix of both. How you know that these people are enslaved is that it's not open dialogue as far as psychic communication. They normally get programmed that it's a it's a chosen, like you're essentially a chosen, like it's a special gift that you have. So it's a way to build the ego of the individual to make you feel like you have this special link with a tribe. um, so this is how you know that you're getting manipulated in some way or shape or form. And gaslighting is going to be very, very implemented within that. And so whether or not you speak openly about presence, you speak openly about religion, and these things are typically a little bit more held back. You're not gonna be as vocal as far as what presence is doing, as far as what's going on, because most likely you've already been trained, whether it's going to be you've been psychically harmed, energetically harmed, and emotionally harmed. And so you're afraid to be able to speak out for several reasons. One being that you're going to look crazy. Another reason how you could tell somebody has been enslaved is typically they're a little bit fearful of being around other people because they do see other forms of the ones that enslave the people. They're able to alter the perception of other people, a by that of the tellerizations, and that by remote viewing, and by distorting the image, and then also assisting with that of the forms of crazy that's being displayed or being trying to displayed on somebody that has just been dispowered. So this is how you know, because this person, so think of a gangbanger. Like a gangbanger is like, no, you really don't even know like what this is like you don't even know because they hold me, like, and it's like, I do know. I honestly do know. The ones that are holding you, the ones that are doing these things are the ones that are typically Ivy League. The ones that are typically doing these design, the creators in reality. This is, look at history and look at the forms of culture that's being developed. Um, So there are obviously organizations and people that do learn and master the metaphysical arts and the design of culture. So this isn't something that's brand new into the reality or for that of people. This has been something that's been ongoing for such a long period of time. However, we do have it like in the industries and stuff like that, where we're doing it as far as fads. So you'll see big dramatic changes as far as the music industry goes. You go from the jigabug, you go from oldies to heavy metal to rock to rap to R&B to jazz to, and you're gonna see that these are very distinct lines and very distinct strong characters. Um, so with a lot of the industries and a lot of these things, it's going to be a form of hypnosis onto the subconscious of the mind of the person, which is actually creating this energy and a better embodiment for that of the energy that's wanting to be given. Some people are going to be able to, depending on the audio and depending on what they're getting out of the experience and the energy that their body might pull, it might be recognized in something that somebody wants to be able to mass produce that form of energy. So holding that form of consciousness in order for it to be replayed, it's like a carbon copy. So it's almost like you learn energy from another person. So almost learn it is like as far as your presence is going to pretty much essentially give you that form of energy, and that presence is going to kind of tether it to you where you're kind of feeling the same emotion and the energy that another person got from that experience of listening to the music. I love you. I love you. Um, so when you actually get to the realization that you're able to self hypnose the self, it's going to create a different form of reality for you. So sometimes it kind of gets a little bit challenging because some people believe in hypnosis, some people don't. Some believe in remote viewing, some believe in telerizations. Some it depends on what group is guiding, which it just honestly depends on a lot of these things. And if it comes with that of the medical forms of things, like say like myself, I had a grandfather who was on I think about 27 pills, and every night what he listened to is commercials. This commercial has this symptom, this diagnosis, and all these symptoms. Every night, my grandpa hearing the same commercials over and over and over and over and over and over again, he wound up with the symptoms. So he would go to the doctor, and then what do you know? Lo and behold, he's got this ailment. So after now he's got this ailment, now he gets put on this medication. Goes back home, he does the same thing. Watches TV, falls asleep. It's the same commercials, different commercials for different form of symptoms. Now the next thing you know, my grandfather went from 2 pills all the way up to 27. So it's a form of hypnosis that's being placed, and you're like, well, whoa, no, how can America be doing? It's like, it's this real, it's a touchy, it's a mixed bag of crazy. Well, and so when you kind of do open up to that, where it's like, no, just don't watch that. No, just don't believe it. It's a little bit different when it's constantly being fed into the subconscious of your mind, and depending on the different forms of those that are going to be backing a different area or a corporation is going to help with that of the tellerizations and the embodiments that it's actually occurring within your reality, versus it just being with free willingly. Um, so really being able to open up to the eyes towards these things. I know that when my aunt Carla ended up getting my grandfather, she's like, well, what pills are going to keep you alive and which ones are going to kill you? And my grandpa pretty much wanted to keep all of his pills. So she got on the phone, and even then she had a battle with the doctor because the doctor wanted to fight to keep him on the pills. I think my aunt got him down to about 3 or 4 pills out of 20s. It's a 20 something, about it's roughly anywhere from 25 to 27 pills. And then so when my grandfather ended up getting off majority of the pills, all the symptoms went away. He no longer had the tremors. He no longer had a speech impediment. He stopped having all these issues that was given. And my aunt was like, oh my gosh, this is daddy again. Like, this is daddy. Um, because that's how my family is, a little bit southern. It's daddy, not like, it's daddy, it's whatever. Um, so it's very interesting to see, because there's times where you can get too spiritual and you're like, I don't want to hear no negativity. I don't want to hear, none of this stuff. And it's hard. It really, really, really is hard. And especially to rewire the self and to get into the own self hypnosis versus getting into the industry and backing somebody's design of what they're trying to create. Um, As you see, I love you. Um, and so when you're getting into these things, plant medicine is going to be the keys in order for you to come into your power. I want you to come into your power. I want I want you to become fully in your power. And for some of the ones that are being guided through the industry and that you end up being pulled towards like the artist or anything like that because tellerizations, different forms of spiritual guides and stuff like that. And you the reasons why you're going to vibe very well with them is because you're essentially programmed with a similar vibration or the fad that they're trying to create. Um, and most likely, from what I see in the industry, the celebrities really do help awaken the people as far as their full capability. Excuse me, which I think is beautiful and I think it's really really great. I've known for myself as far as some of the artists that I've actually listened to. It's kind of ironic because I don't like the Hollywood aspect, and I don't think I ever will. I don't think I'll ever conform into that area for just the amount of harms that I've seen placed on my own family and the forms of telerizations to create these things. Um, However, I've had some where I've obviously had a psychic connection with, and they're like, well, it's looking a little bit of the religion, because it's because I'm Christian because I've been under these things. I just don't follow the Bible. I just follow underneath that of Christ walk. So meaning essentially, it's Mother Earth, me, and being able to observe the consciousness of other people without me reading it. I'm actually doing an actual form of Christ walk while being guided through that of beautiful children of God that are assisting with different views and point of views with their understandings of that of Christ. Um, and I still had problems with like the Hollywood aspect where it's like, do it like that. Why don't you talk like the way you did it before? And I'm like, because for me it's about the resonancy that you give to another person. You match the same frequency in order to be able to do the best healing onto that of the divine, so the individual. So it has nothing to do with just I'm just this divine thing. But if I have the true intentions of healing, you come in a very neutral spot, and then whenever you come into presence, that's when you go internally, when you feel what is it vibrationally that you need to meet the requirements to be able to do a healing on that of the individual as well as yourself. um, so it's interesting because it's like, even though as much as I don't like Hollywood and I don't like that, it's very ironic because I'm so pulled to some of the brothers and sisters that are truly that of God. And I mean, it's just, and it's interesting because it's like I'm almost still kind of pulled away from it just because of the forms of manipulation. I'm like, well, if you're used to creating the fads though too, you're gonna be used to being able to even delude a little bit of Christ walk a little bit. So it's, there's like a delusional, like it's difficult. But for some of the beautiful people that do understand like the channeling and stuff like that, it's like there's real authentic, and they go through the forms of ceremony to be able to embody Christ. And I'm like, and it's that part that pulls me right back in again. Like it's that part where I know that they're pulling out the frankincense, and they're pulling out the myrrh, and they're doing, like they're doing real Christ embodiment. They're doing like, Christ work, and doing, and really giving back into community, and I do believe my beautiful brothers and sisters of Christ, they do go back onto earth, and they do go back into connecting with Mother Earth, and they try to get away from so much of the programming. But I think so many of them are so well equipped and so divine that they're able to jump into not only Christianity, but other forms of reality, and be able to get into the consciousness of different forms of religion and different forms of spiritual groups. So it's ironic because I really do admire some of these people because their connection with God and their connection with Christ and their connection to their spirituality. Um, so I do divinely appreciate so many different things, but at the same time, I think from the amounts of abuse and the amounts of control that I've had placed on me and my family and my loved ones through people of Hollywood and through people that want to create culture, it's a little bit hard for me to really look at television or look at other forms of people and not feel like they have an intention of controlling in some type of way, versus the true form of freedom and liberation, and for you to create your own individuality as well as your own reality. Um, my love is, my love is. As far as I know that some of the tactics are a little bit hard on some of them. Sometimes they really can drive you to the points of pulled away from everything and really honestly show you that there's nobody in the world that's got you really. There's it can get pretty bad. But that's the reasons why I say it's very important for you to strengthen your bonds with your families and your loved ones. And I understand that sometimes, depending on the group, again, it's going to be very challenging. You're going to have to really be able to focus on the self before being able to do that. And some of the older ones, it's going to be a little bit more extra challenging because they're so ingrained in this other habit form that you're not going to really be able to break them free from their forms of habit. So it's almost like you have to grow while knowing certain ones are going to stay here while trying being like, hey, I love you and we're family. Like it's because it's a challenge. But for some people that obviously have some things like mine is like with my family, I was very close with my mom and my grandma, and I was relatively close with my grandpa. So I was pretty close to my mom's side. So for me, it's very important, at least for my form of time, to be able to see similarities and looks and stuff like that, and where I could see my mom or my grandma in a way or shape or form, especially when I've been pulled around United States quite a bit through hierarchies that have really projected me to be pretty crazy. That ain't no lie. And for the moments where I'm able to hold my own consciousness and see my own family, it is a way that I'm able to be very thankful for reality and very thankful for my loved ones. And I think coming into the area of you know getting to know that you're going to be able to learn your plant medicine, learn your full capability. It doesn't mean that you have to join any forms of groups, and and the reasons why I stick with that is because through my walk of my reality, by seeing so many different forms of fads in the United States of America, it is also assisted and looked at and viewed at by that of the world, essentially, seeing how that we are a melting pot. So whenever a new form of fad or a new form of things is going to be coming out, it's kind of approved. It's kind of approved on. So there's going to be many forms of brainwashing that's going to be implemented on society and that of forms of people. Um, so it's kind of hard to back and support the brainwash. Like I think it's different if you're able to hold your consciousness and have these higher forms of views while creating a new form of culture or a new form of anything by still respecting people's ancestors and their loved ones and them still being able to be connected to that of their loved ones, versus the ones that are being very separated, targeted, and very much washed. Because I know, like with my grandma, I used to ask my grandma, I'm like, grandma, like, hey, what are we? Like, what's our ethnicity? What's our race, girl? And my grandma says, we're mutts. Grandma, we gotta be more than mutts. What are we? We're mutts. You wait a little bit while later or something like that. Hey, grandma, are we part native? Are we part Polish? Are we part? We're mutts. And it's very interesting because if you talk to another family member, they'll be like, we're white. And I'm like, it's interesting to see the centuries, right? Or the 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 passing. Like, so grandma was so sad. Grandma would never say that we're white. Like I've never heard grandma ever say that. She's only said that we are mutts and left it at that. Um, so it's interesting to kind of see where certain family members born in a different period is where they're like, well, now they're identifying as a color versus their race or the nationality or their mutts. So I'm pretty sure the reason why she was saying that we're mutts is because we're pretty well mixed. And I think it's really been pushed onto her to kind of look past forms of her mixture. So it's a big difference. I love you. Get free and get in your power, baby.